Welcome to the Rich and Rob Show, everybody. I'm Rob. And I'm Rich. What have we got today, Rob? Megyn Kelly, who I must say is very hot. I gotta say that sometimes. She's talking about the Supreme Court restoring Trump to Colorado's ballot in a unanimous vote. You get that? 9-0. Democrats, Republicans all said he's back on the ballot in Colorado. It was such a sleazy move to try to kick him off the ballots in the first place. But the unanimous vote put an end to those shenanigans. Okay, let's see what we've got.
The meltdown in the wake of this 9-0 Supreme Court ruling in Donald Trump's favor is where we have to begin. So, Stu, already we're getting reaction from those on the left about the betrayal they perceive from the liberal jurists and how to them it was just so clear. I mean, they don't understand Donald Trump is a clear insurrectionist. And how could the Supreme Court, which Keith Olbermann says we just need to move on from, betray us and be so confused in this way? What do you make of it?
It's a fascinating day, and it's amazing to watch all of this happen. You know, I'm for one shocked that Sotomayor was on board for this. I could have believed Kagan. I could have even believed Ketanji Brown Jackson would be on the right side of this. Sotomayor, who I don't have much respect for, I'm surprised. But a 9-0 ruling is good. It's the thing that the country needs. They need clarity on something like this, which is insane. And the Biden administration does all of this and cheers this stuff on, and the media cheers all this stuff on while arguing for democracy, which is such a bizarre, hypocritical thing. It's like their favorite form of democracy is the one where you're the only name on the ballot. And like, I don't remember that being really the way democracy works. It's shocking to kind of see this portrayed by the media as something that was serious. And that, I think, is, if you want to come off of all the really important things I think this means for the country and all the legal ramifications, you can come off of that and just look at the way the society handled this, which is half the country was convinced that this was correct and true and obvious. And the only way this would be stopped is by the right-wing Supreme Court, who is unfair and always just rooting on Donald Trump. And then when you get a 9-0 ruling, real clarity here that this is insane and everyone knew it was insane. And then to see the way the media had just led people down this road over and over and over again and gets their hopes up, right? I guess if you're a left-wing person and you want no competition in the presidential election, you thought this was going to be a good thing. Instead, they embarrass themselves. Once again, the media just falls down flat on its face with no ideas of where it's going from here.
Here's a sampling, Dave, of some of the reaction. Olbermann's always the best. The court has betrayed democracy. Its members, including Jackson, Kagan, and Sotomayor, have proved themselves inept at reading comprehension. And collectively, the court, that's in quotes, has shown itself to be corrupt and illegitimate. It must be dissolved. We could keep going. As you might imagine, there's equally, well, maybe not equally, but similar hysterical reaction from people feeling that's the word, betrayed by them, that they didn't get their way. They are really looking at the Supreme Court.
She's right, Rich. Betrayal means it was a foregone conclusion that something was supposed to go a certain way, and when it didn't go the way they wanted, they assumed something isn't right. The first point is always that America is a nation of laws, with the U.S. Constitution being the principal document, and the Supreme Court decides constitutional issues. It's not like the justices just elected Trump president. They just said that states are not allowed to keep a presidential candidate off the ballot for spurious reasons. Remember when they overturned Roe v. Wade last year on abortion? The Supreme Court didn't say abortion was illegal. They said that abortion isn't a constitutional issue and that there's nothing in the Constitution about the right to an abortion. So they kicked it back to the states. That's what they do. Critical thinking is at a premium these days, but also at a minimum.
Whether it is in the January 6th appeal that just went up and that they took on whether he's got immunity for these criminal acts, alleged criminal acts taken while president, or it's this case in which they said, no, individual states can't kick a presidential candidate off the ballot. They feel like the court owes them something. It's up to them to stop him.
There you go. No, but listen, I mean, this case in particular was the Mona Lisa of hypocrisy and projection. Donald Trump's a threat to democracy, so we're not going to let you vote for him. I mean, come on. It was always completely absurd. But I think the good takeaway from this and why it's so important that it was 9-0 is that yet again, the guardrails of American democracy have held firm. Both sides, the left looks at January 6th and they say, we were 5 minutes from losing our republic. No, we weren't. What was going to happen?
No,
The
we
Joint
weren't.
Chiefs of Staff were going to walk in and make QAnon shaman the president. I mean, it's absurd. and on the other side, it's like, these prosecutions of Trump and everything they're doing, it's the same as Russia, blah, blah, blah. No, it's not, because we do have these guardrails. They do work. The founders created amazing checks and balances. Americans throughout the century have sort of cherished and protected that. It's our job to keep doing that. And so really good to see a 9-0 Supreme Court decision on this case today, which really was, I think, a pretty obvious call.
Now they're talking about the fact that Trump wasn't even charged with insurrection, which is what the basis of Democrats trying to keep him off the ballot has been. It seems like we're turning into the Middle East or something with our emotional and unreasonable reactions to political issues. Like, we still live in America. It's still a really good place if you would just keep yourself in check a bit.
It took them 2 years to move on this case. Like, they had thrown tons of other people in prison
And they did.
for January
And by the way,
6th.
let's not forget, he was never charged with insurrection. He was not charged with insurrection.
They didn't even put it in the impeachment. They could have put anything in there. They didn't even put it in the impeachment. They had all of this time. They waited until he actually ran for president to do anything on this, because honestly, if he had not run for president, probably they never would have done any of this. But they wanted to stop him. They wanted to make sure that he could not be president again. So they're throwing every piece of spaghetti they can find against the wall to see if anything will stick. And it's just an embarrassing failure.
They have the least popular candidate running as a Republican that we've had in decades. So just win. What are you in such a panic about? Oh, wait, your candidate is horrible. Well, then do something about it. Don't be such P words. That's the one swear I don't like. Don't be such a P word. Go out and find another candidate who can win. I don't care. I don't want to hear your whining when you won't find another candidate because you know your guy is struggling. You just want to bash our democracy, get rid of the Supreme Court, mess with our balloting system. No, it's a no. You were stopped by the U.S. Supreme Court.
Well, that covered it, Rich. It's like people can't fathom why half the country will vote for someone other than their own candidate. And when it's looking more likely that Biden is going down the tubes due to his policies with the border and the economy and inflation and stoking the flames of racism and whatnot, they kick and scream and try to keep the other candidate off the ballot. Right, and the solution is pretty simple. Just find a better candidate. If Trump is as bad as they say, he should be easy to defeat at the voting booth. It's plain and simple, really. Well, people, that does it for this episode. I hope you're doing well, and we see you on the next episode of The Rich and Rob Show. Cheers!